Welcome to A Shot of Business Central and a Beer, the podcast where we discuss all things related to Business Central while enjoying a nice cold beer. I'm one of your hosts, Michael. I'm joined by Ken Sebahar, who's also the co-host of A Shot of Business Central and a Beer. And in this episode, we'll be discussing the latest news with Business Central, our thoughts on this beautiful Imperial Biscotti Break Beer. And we'll even be spilling the beans on a little bit of a new segment that we've got coming. So, Ken, what's going on? How's it going?
Oh, living the dream, my friend.
Living the dream?
Hi, welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you as
you
well.
doing?
I'm good. I'm also living the dream, but mine is a digital dream infused with artificial intelligence.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. In the meantime, I see you continue punking me or trolling me or whatever the terminology is here with this Imperial Biscotti Break Beer from Evil Twin Brewing.
Yeah. Is that because of the high alcohol content?
Yeah. So what is it? It's a stout, Imperial Stout, brewed with coffee. So I see it's right up your alley, with almond and vanilla extracts added.
Yeah. Now, you might not believe this, but when I actually go to the Binny's or the store or whatever to pick out the beer, I hardly ever look at the alcohol content. For some reason, they tend to be high. This looks like root beer as Ken's pouring it.
Root beer? It looks like tar.
But we have to say that it's got some high scores on Beer Advocate. Yeah, it's a pretty dark head on it, too.
It is the darkest beer I've ever seen.
Yeah,
if it's nervous. Possible to be darker than a Guinness, this is darker than Guinness.
It does, yeah. It looks darker. Oh, my God, look at that.
It's like motor oil.
It's a good comparison. But on Beer Advocate, it has a score of 96, which might be one of the higher scores that we've had. Oh, isn't that good? Did you even give a smell test?
11.5%, and it is packed with flavor.
What about alcohol flavor, though?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Everything I read said it wasn't going to be too high. Or too... So the smell... Oh, I think it smells really good. I definitely get the chocolate notes. Maybe some nutty notes. I don't get any of the biscotti notes.
Yeah. I checked out Evil Twin Brewing, based out of Ridgewood, New York, which is basically like Brooklyn area. And I actually saw, it looks like they had many interesting beers on there. Maybe more that I would enjoy more than this one in particular. Some of the names, though, I wouldn't love all of these, but here's a few of their options that were listed. Cookies and Cream Ale. God. So I think that would be a little too sweet for my taste. E.T. Stay Home Sour IPA. So a sour and an IPA combined. Again, not something I like, but interesting nonetheless.
Great name, too.
And then this one, and then the one I probably would not enjoy the most. Even More Fresh Lobster. It's a triple IPA with lobster.
Oh, my God, that's terrible.
Right?
No way.
So maybe this is the best of the bunch.
Oh, my God.
They don't mess around with trying out different things, though.
Lobster?
I give them credit for that. They are creative, at least if nothing else.
I mean, look, is this your average beer, like your Miller Lights and whatnot, right? No, it's far from it. To me, it's like a dessert beer, right? It would pair well, I guess, with like a cookie or cake, maybe, if you would. If anybody drinks beer with cake. But it's thick and it's... But I'll tell you what, though. I don't get, from the first sip I had, it's not giving me like a punch in the face with alcohol flavoring.
No?
No, you're getting that?
You're just a much bigger man than I.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I'm not getting that punch. Like we had that one. I can't remember what beer it was. I think it was a barrel-aged beer, if I'm not mistaken.
You have evolved tremendously over these past few years. I mean, right? Corona.
Yeah. Oh, I love me. I love
Corona.
Corona.
Where you started.
Yeah,
this couldn't be any farther.
No, I know.
From Corona.
Well, maybe that's it though. Maybe I just don't like. Well, I love Corona Modelo, but maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just some weird beer drinking guy, I guess.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So some funny beer advocate reviews and comments. Very high reviews, right? Just because this is right in the wheelhouse of the beer aficionados.
Absolutely.
You know? But a couple that caught my eye was pours out of the can a midnight black. No light passes through it. True. Right?
Look, if you hold up, it's 100% true. No light passes through it.
Nice oily legs on this one.
Okay.
Is that a good thing? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Sweet fragrance, chocolate, brown sugar, coffee, and roasted malt. I think that's what you love about it.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Lush and syrupy mouthfeel.
I won't go that far.
And then my favorite one, a fair amount of alcohol. Fair, like this is like, so if you have like excellent, good,
right,
fair,
right, yeah.
Like this is fair.
What's this guy? What's this person been drinking?
Yeah, like this falls under the fair category.
I saw in Beer Advocate, the notes I thought were hysterical. Somebody wrote, or whoever runs the site says, the Roman Empire had a certain je ne sais quoi, festive food culture, extravagant architecture, and spectacular live entertainment. So far, I can agree with that. Some might argue the emperors were brutal, mad, and hungry for power, and the people vain when taking baths and working out all day. All right, so that's a little stereotypical, right? Taking baths and working out all day. So I thought it was kind of funny, though. And it says, listen, that's still all part of the secret imperial ingredient. Keep it cool, clean, confident, arrogant, and flamboyant. And then he puts Forza Imperiale.
Yeah, wow. This is quite a beer. I would summarize it like this. Most beer makes you piss. This beer makes you shit.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those.
So we will we'll work on these suckers as we go through here. But we have a a couple things. So we're going to go through our shot, give you a bunch of Business Central, Microsoft news and updates. We also are going to, during our feature segment today, we're going to talk about Business Central data administration. So keeping your data clean and current and optimized. But we also are introducing a new segment.
Absolutely.
Called AI Snack Time.
Yes, sir.
So obviously AI, ChatGPT has been in the news, and if you've been listening, we've been talking about it pretty much every month for the last few months. And we've decided to kind of pull together all of the AI related topics into one segment. So we'll have kind of one segment where we cover what's new and interesting, newsworthy in regards to AI and Business Central and Microsoft and Dynamics. And while we talk about that, we'll enjoy a nice snack.
Yeah. AI is definitely the flavor of the decade.
So,
but before we move forward, though, why don't we talk a little bit about, just a quick recap of what we did last month when we talked with Soren Fries, Alexanderson.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say that I thought it was a great conversation. Soren is a great guy. I love that he had, not only, he works at Microsoft, obviously, so he's got some insight into Business Central, but he also had experience with implementation and nav and whatnot. So he's actually very skilled in multiple different fields.
Well-rounded.
Yes, well-rounded.
Background, for sure.
Yeah, so we got a lot, and he clarified the automation thing for us, where we were under the impression that automation was going to be great for every company, and that's kind of what Microsoft was pushing. But it turns out, pretty much
some use cases for it, and
but primarily more for smaller companies right now. But big ones might be able to use a little bit. But overall, great guy.
Yeah, great discussion. Take a listen if you didn't.
Yeah, and I would actually go as far to say a person very well versed in the discussions of beer.
Yeah.
He's also
Trappist enjoyed a Trappist Roquefort.
Yeah, and he sent us an email too saying that he's also on that Untapped site where you can find different beers and keep ratings of your beers. So he fit in well into the podcast.
Absolutely.
All right. So next up then, we're going to jump into the shot of BC?
You got it. All right, welcome back to a shot of Business Central. So let's kick it off with 2023 Release Wave 1. We're sitting right here today, right at the end of April, heading into the beginning of May, and we're starting to see environments get updated to this newest release.
Finally.
Yeah, so, when they say April, they always push the bounds, push those limits,
But this one I've seen more of the stop, and where they had to stop implementing and then they had to start. It happened, three times maybe this month?
Yeah, at least we get all those emails. We're copied on environments. Yeah. They're pausing them. Okay, they're starting it. Yeah. Okay, wait, they're pausing it again. I always joke I'd love to be in the room at Microsoft. And they're like, all right, fire up the updates. Yeah. And then 10 minutes later, hey, hold the updates.
They got the old red Staples button that just says stop.
Oh, crap. Crap.
It'd be fun. But I think the most I've seen in the past is only stopped maybe once in a month. So this one is 3 times. So.
Yeah, we've seen a couple. But yeah, it's a major release. So there's definitely, there's new features and new functions. So they're running into things, they're seeing things. And I love it. I love that they're, they take that effort to pause it. And if it takes an extra week, great, whatever. Yeah. But, it's better to be done right than done and have issues. So.
I love the speed at which they fix it. Like you said, if it only takes a week, to me, that's fast. I mean, you're fixing an update that's going out to however many environments, Tons, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then, so that was pretty, well, then what do we got next? We got Directions Partner Conference. You attended Directions.
I did, yeah. So every year, there's a Directions Partner Conference. It's SMB Microsoft Partner Conference, primarily focused around Business Central now. I mean, you'll see SL and GP partners there also, or Power Platform. But I mean, primarily it's around Business Central, right, as kind of the future of SMB products for Microsoft ERP.
Yeah.
And it was a great event. Microsoft is the platinum sponsor. So, kind of what that means is obviously Microsoft helps support the conference financially. But I think more importantly, they also send a ton of people to the conference who then lead a lot of the sessions.
Right.
So it's not a partner conference led by partners. I mean, I think it's officially led by partners.
Yeah.
But the content, Microsoft has a huge presence there. Mike Morton, a lot of the head, the SMB Microsoft leadership team is there to present and kind of work with partners on what's coming up. Over 1,000 attendees, officially over 1,100 attendees, which is
pre-COVID numbers.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, I had been to many Directions conferences. They didn't say it was a record, so it must not be a record, but I would say in my experience, the average Directions conference was somewhere between 500 and 1,000. So it was definitely on the larger end. Over 200 first-time attendees. They had over 200 sessions, 200 speakers. They had a Women in Dynamics lunch event that was very popular as well. So they had a kind of a good presence there, a lot of interest in the Women in Dynamics group, which we talked about with Soren last month.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty big. Did you get the feeling that, you said there's over 200 new attendees, did you get the feeling maybe of just randomly talking to people, that maybe these are a lot of people that have jumped ship from GP to BC, and they're kind of new and they're just trying to feel it?
Yeah, I did. I talked to multiple people who worked for either a smaller Microsoft partner who was doing GP, and a couple people also who worked at CPA firms who also had have a technology practice. And in that technology practice, they had maybe been supporting their customers with their use of QuickBooks. And now they were getting into Business Central. And, the impression I got was that...
Frustration?
They were kind of, I don't want to say deer in headlights.
Overwhelmed?
But frankly, a little overwhelmed with the sophistication of Business Central. It's not QuickBooks. I mean, it is a mid-market ERP system with a lot of functionality in there. And I think I talked to 2 different people who had that, like, wow, like, this is going to take at least a couple months to get each project implemented. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, maybe if it's, just GL and AP, I guess if that's all you're doing in QuickBooks, right? I mean, maybe sometimes the scope is kind of simple. But yeah, so I did see multiple new people, and some new ISVs also, some new app developer partners that were there, that hadn't been there before, and some of our customers are running some of their apps, so I got to meet some of those people there. So a lot of new apps. I mean, I think there's over 3,600 apps for Business Central and AppSource now.
It's amazing.
So there was a lot of news. Let's talk about that, AppSource. You're going to start to see a buy now button on AppSource. This is just kind of in a kind of a preview, kind of pilot mode right now. They're working with a few partners to test this out, only with a per user license model. So it's going to kind of be pretty limited to start, but their plan is to introduce per tenant pricing options, or per what they call metered use, which means like per transaction or per activity or whatever, some sort of activity that they're monitoring that you get charged by, like per expense report or per invoice.
Do you know in the background who's handling that? Is Microsoft taking over ownership of this?
Yeah, so it's going to be Microsoft, so it's all going to be coordinated through Microsoft, and they'll take a relatively small cut for hosting and managing all of that environment,
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. And then so it's going to, I think in the long run, that's going to be kind of the model. Yeah. But in the short run, you're going to only start to slowly see it over the next 12 months probably.
Well, we've been talking about it for, I want to say years now on the podcast, that AppSource needs to be revamped, and Microsoft needs to take over the billing aspect and whatnot for it. So that's good to see. They've known it's an issue and whatnot. So
so that was a kind of one of the highlights. We also had another lot of discussion around what they call Microsoft Copilot, which is AI. I don't want to talk too much about it right now because we're going to talk about it in a minute as we enjoy our snack, our AI snack. And then the last thing is just we saw some cool stuff. They showed a lot of new features that are coming out in 2023, Wave 1. But really where I saw a huge change is in the development tools. So there's a few huge things that we saw. One is what they call the in-client profiler, which is being able to debug a production environment in real time. Just turn on debug mode to try to capture what's happening, why an error might be displayed or whatever. So that's going to be a huge breakthrough in terms of support.
Huge.
And being able to identify issues. So that's one thing. 2 was what they call the AL Explorer, which is if you came from Nav, you had the old object designer or development environment. The AL Explorer kind of looks like that, where you can see, quote, the objects, the tables, pages, reports, and things in there, which is pretty cool. There was a thing, they showed a feature called Azure Logic Apps. And what this is basically, it's a Power BI solution, a pre-made dashboard and reporting, or a set of reports that allow you to view your Business Central telemetry data. Right? So behind the scenes, Microsoft is capturing all of this telemetry data on usage and errors and all this kind of environment connections and things. And this Azure Logic Apps, this Power BI solution, it's a pre-made package. You can download it, turn it on, hook it up to an environment, and view all that telemetry data that's been captured. Making it a lot more user-friendly for partners. And this is what I love. I love it, and I'm mentioning it because partners and customers don't just want tools, right? BC is a tool, Power BI is a tool, telemetry is a tool. This is a solution. This is the dashboard that you can use to view it. It's like plug it in and use it. It's a solution.
Because sometimes the tools are very complicated.
And everyone has to reinvent the wheel every time. So that's what I love about that. And another thing was what they call the Business Central performance testing. And what this allows you to do, if performance is a concern of yours, what you can do is in your Business Central environment, you can install this extension called the BCPT, Business Central Performance Testing, and you can set up, like, you can say, okay, hey, I want to have pretend like 50 users are opening the customer card page, 20 users are running the inventory valuation report, and 10 users are posting purchase orders. And run it, and it kicks off all these activities, and you can actually monitor and capture the runtime.
Wow.
On all of these events, and so what that means, you can see, okay, what's this performance look like, and down to the granular level of which events are taking how long, and build like a baseline to say, all right, hey, here's what we were experiencing under this set of circumstances. And then now, oh, hey, in this environment, we're having problems. Let's run that same performance test and see how long things are taking to allow you to identify where's the issue. Problem. And usually it's like glaring, right? Like, look, right here, 90% of the time is taken up by this step, which is caused by this extension.
Gotcha.
Right?
That's pretty cool.
So pretty cool stuff. And then the biggest, coolest thing was what they call the GitHub Copilot, which again we're gonna talk about in snack time.
AI.
So AI, but GitHub for Visual Studio Code. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that's pretty cool.
Ken always sounds so thrilled when you say AI.
It's like
he's like, yeah,
excited, you and your AI. Yeah. Now we're gonna hit that pretty hard. So yeah, that was it was a short stint for me. I wasn't able to stay for the whole conference. But I got down there and met a lot of people. I really enjoyed networking and
Did any one session stick out for you? I don't know if you had any time to attend sessions or if you were just
one of the sessions, and I didn't talk about this here, was is the new partner certification. They call it partner designations. And there's 6 categories that you can receive a partner designation in, or a badge, what they call a badge. Obviously, for us, as a Business Central partner, we would want to get the business applications badge. All right, but you also could get the modern work badge if you do a lot of Office 365, for example. Yeah.
But doesn't the business applications require you to still do, even though we're BC focused, you still have to partake in like the enterprise sector a little bit?
You have to pass the advanced certification, which is only an F&O architect or a Power Platform architect. So those are the 2 sets of exams, and it's multiple exams for each one of them.
Why Microsoft? Why? Doesn't make sense.
Right. And I attended a session there, and it was noteworthy for me. I mean, there's not many partners who have achieved the business certification. The business application certification. And they didn't understand why. It seemed so easy.
Well, it's like let's just say you had 5,000 gold partners, and then you've only got a couple hundred business apps certified. Like, what's going on?
Is it the partner's fault?
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, we're missing something.
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, I think it's strategic. I think it's Microsoft wants to create a differentiator for some partners. I mean, if everyone's a certified partner, then what is the value? So there is merit in that, right? To create this as a pretty high bar to get across.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it can't be too high. I mean, it can't be.
There's got to be levels, though, right? Like you had the silver certification and whatnot.
Right, and every partner has kind of a different business model and different set of customers, and it doesn't mean that they're not good and qualified at what they do just because maybe one of the 6 metrics they're not able to hit.
Right, it just means that they're focused on what they're good at.
Right.
Yeah. Some people don't partake in the enterprise section.
Yep.
But nice. So you had a good time. Let's see what else. Oh, next up we've got Microsoft Q3 earnings, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about this. So this is kind of a macro level thing, right? So if you pay attention to the news or the stock market, right? Microsoft released their 3rd quarter earnings, and I think there was a lot of nervousness around this, right? Because a lot of companies have said they've been slowing down. They've seen slowdowns in their growth rates, and
especially other companies with cloud revenue,
Yeah, and I would say although I think the growth rate has decelerated.
I think I read 26 or 27% only for Microsoft for cloud.
Only.
Yeah. Well, right? Yeah, compared to past years.
So that's my takeaway. My takeaway is this: revenue was almost $53 billion for the quarter, right? Which is up 10% in constant currency. So if you remove the effects of currency fluctuations,
right,
it's up 10%. Net income for the quarter, bottom line, $18.3 billion, up 14% in constant currency, right? Now, of that 53 billion, cloud revenue was 28.5. So about just over 50%.
Yeah.
And that's up 25% year over year. So you're seeing obviously a lot more cloud growth and and less no growth or shrinkage on some of the traditional on-premise stuff.
From what I was reading too, though, I think Microsoft it might have been predicted not to beat the number that was predicted for.
Correct.
And they're saying that they beat it.
Beat it. Yeah.
But they're saying they beat it because of the AI push, right? Did you read that?
I didn't read that. Why? I know that the consensus was a certain number, and Microsoft beat both the revenue and net income.
Yeah, I think. Well, what I read is that basically because of the influx of their AI Copilot and whatnot, it's giving them another push.
So and Dynamics, they did break out Dynamics. So it's not just Business Central, but Dynamics product category and cloud services increased 21% in constant currency. Now they don't throw the billion. How many? How much is that in terms of dollars? But Dynamics 365 revenue growth was up 29% in constant currency.
Good number.
That's great for Business Central. So why are we talking about this, right?
Well, Business Central is a Microsoft product, Ken.
That's right. And I think it's very important. And it's like, I think I would tell people, don't look past this, right? I mean, all these numbers are huge. And by the way, the biggest percent increase that I mentioned was Dynamics 365, which is Business Central. And small and mid-sized businesses, when they go out there and they decide that they're going to implement or upgrade a new ERP system, that is one of the most significant investments and risks that a company is going to make, if you think about it, right?
Absolutely.
So the point is, those people who have chosen to implement or upgrade to Business Central Online, man, they made a great decision.
Yeah, I think the numbers scream that Microsoft is a forward-thinking company, technology first, very innovative, and I think what the numbers are saying is that everybody believes in their vision of what they're doing for the future, and people have the utmost confidence in Microsoft as a company to invest in it.
Yeah, and people are liking it.
Yeah.
They're getting a lot out of it, and they're seeing the value of some of the new features and functionality that Microsoft's putting in with Office integration and monthly updates to keep you current on the latest technology. Yeah. So I think this is all great. All these numbers and seeing the growth, and it's more investment by Microsoft, right?
Absolutely.
That they're going to be making when they see. Trust me, when Microsoft looks at their numbers and at the end of the quarter they see that the highest growth rate was in Dynamics, that encourages them to invest in that area, which is good for you if you're running Business Central.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny because 6-7 years ago when the terms of cloud software, cloud ERP software came out, I think most people were, I don't know, cloud, how could it work? You know what I mean?
Yeah. 5 years ago, that was the case.
And Microsoft basically said, hey, here, hold my beer and watch this.
Right.
And here we are, still holding that beer.
Yeah.
So they're doing a heck of a job.
Yeah.
But to that note, they do tend to make a lot of changes that can be somewhat complicated, like the nav, in
Pricing.
Business Central licensing, the updates and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if people who don't know, starting this year in October, the enhancement plans are going to increase 1% more from 17% to 18% percentage fees. And the Business Central licensing is now aligned or on-premise licensing is now aligned with cloud licensing.
Right.
Same price, all subscription-based. You can no longer buy a license for $2,800.
Yeah, what they call like the perpetual licensing model, where you buy it up front and then pay the 16-18% per year. Yeah, it's all going to be only subscription. Same prices as Business Central Online. So you can run it on premise if you want to or you need to, but it's all the same subscription price.
And I think I speak for Microsoft when I say, why would you want to? Why would you want to run it on premise?
It's got to be a need. It has to be a need, either due to no internet availability, maybe some really large integration that you're doing that requires an on-premise server, or maybe you're selling to the U.S. military and you have restrictions on your ability to run in a multi-tenant cloud environment.
Here's a question for you. In the past, these sort of things have been like cyclical, right? Where it's cloud, or before it wasn't called cloud, but everybody had to like kind of dial into a certain place. Mm-hmm. Do you think 5-10 years from now, on-premise is going to make a comeback?
No.
No? You think that's it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think so. I think the only way it would have to make a comeback is if there is some sort of crazy cybersecurity risk and everything just goes to hell and people are like, that's it, I'm never going to go cloud again.
That's true, yeah. Or for some reason, the price of the cost of purchasing and maintaining an on-premise server for somehow gets so crazy low that there's just no, you don't get that return on your investment, right? But then you'd have to have the ability to update it very easily and integrate with online cloud apps, and so there's a lot of factors.
So they're all big ifs.
Yeah, I mean it could be, but who knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Speaking of online software going away, did you hear about? Or sorry, on premise. Yeah, they say online.
Yeah.
Wow, this beer's pretty strong, huh?
Yeah, right. Slow down there, big boy.
Speaking of on-premise software going away, GP. To me personally, I think the writing's finally on the wall. I mean, Microsoft's been kind of alluding to it in the past, but I think that now they're really saying that. I think it's after 2026.
April 1st, 2026.
There's not going to be There's not going to be any more updates to it,
you will not be able to. New customers will not be able to purchase GP.
Yeah.
So if you haven't purchased Great GP by April 1st, 2026, you will not be able to purchase it.
But they're going to still continue to support it for years after that.
5 years, full product life cycle support. Yeah. So today there's a release 2020. We're in 2023, so that's going to be supported through 2028, and so any release they'll follow the GP support life cycle.
Yeah, this is just another thing Microsoft's just trying to push people towards the cloud. But like we said, we talked about it earlier, Business Central is obviously a different beast than GP, but they it pretty much does everything that GP can, so they want to push everybody on GP towards Business Central. Yeah. But I think we talked about, what was it, last year at Directions, Mike Morton kind of made a little bit of a gaffe, put a slide up that basically said GP's kind of going away.
I would say it was presented as a gaffe, but I don't know how a slide accidentally gets put into a PowerPoint presentation in front of a group of people.
Yeah. So they were kind of testing the waters or whatnot, and then this year it seems that.
Yeah. Now let's make it official.
Yeah.
So, and then last thing I have is just the Dynamics Con conference is scheduled for around, I think it's May 22nd to the 25th out in Scottsdale, Arizona. So that's a kind of a user conference meant for users. So I will be there speaking leading a session. A lot of other great speakers there. Hoping it's continuing on its growth trajectory from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 this year.
Yeah, I just saw it today, and I don't know if this is for Dynamics Con Live or Dynamics Con Virtual, because they still do a virtual event. But they just reached 504 registers.
Oh, okay.
Which was a record for them.
For sure, yeah.
So I don't know, like I said, if it's for virtual or if it's for the live event. So yeah, their trajectory looks pretty good. I love the branding and the marketing.
Yeah. Yep. So I really enjoyed the conference last year out in San Antonio. And hopefully this one's bigger and better.
Do you have any idea what you're going to try to do your session on this year?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about how to manage service activities in Business Central.
Oh.
So what are the options for managing service activities?
Nice.
Service management, jobs, apps, other, right? So
should be a good time. Ken's sessions are always one of the fan favorites, so be sure to check it
8
out.
8 a.m. on the last day.
8 a.m. on the last day?
Yeah.
Oh.
Only the diehards.
We got to talk to somebody,
Only the diehards will be there, yeah.
Oh, that's good times, though. All right, what do we want to do next? Do you want to do the feature segment?
Yeah, no, I'm ready for a snack.
All right, so next up, new segment, AI snack time.
Let's do it. All right, welcome to the inaugural AI snack time. So with this new segment, our plan is to kind of centralize all of the AI, ChatGPT, machine learning, whatever all that terminology is for, into one segment, because we feel like we've been kind of
bits and pieces
here and there scattered throughout everything. So we're kind of centralize this into a single segment so we can kind of cover what's new each month in this area of very popular.
It's a huge topic now,
topic these days of what's new, what's going on, what are people doing with it, how is this going to impact my life, right? And if you thought that we're just calling it AI snack time, like a virtual snack of AI news, yes, but we literally are also enjoying a snack right now. So today we have some Dots pretzels.
The best pretzels you can get.
I assume everyone now knows what Dots pretzels are.
I don't know,
but
if it wasn't for
with our worldwide audience, maybe Dots pretzels aren't distributed worldwide.
Yeah, they're out of North Dakota.
What do you call these? Kind of like if you've ever seen like a small, like a pretzel stick, like a butter braid.
Yeah, it's like a rope.
A butter braid pretzel stick, but with crazy good seasonings on it.
The flavoring is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? If it wasn't for Jim Gio a couple years ago to introduce me to these, I never would have heard of them. I never even tried them.
Yeah.
And when he brought it up, I was like, it's a pretzel. Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
And then you try it, and you're like, wow.
Yeah. So if you haven't had a Dots pretzel before, go out and get a bag. They're not super cheap, but I think they're worth it.
Yeah, it's the craft beer pretzels.
There you go. Yeah. So so AI. So being at the conference, right, at the partner conference, there was a huge. This was a big part of it, right? And Microsoft has made a huge investment in a company called OpenAI, $1 billion plus, probably multiple billions of dollars. And I don't know if I fully understand the relationship there between ChatGPT is a product created by OpenAI that Microsoft has the exclusive use and rights to.
Yep.
This is going to be a big topic of discussion, and Microsoft's going to be incorporating this AI into all of their products, really, right?
And why not? In my opinion, but I think some could argue they need to slow it down. They need to know what some of the repercussions could be. AI, good or bad, who knows, right? But so they've come out with something called Copilot,
right, yep.
Which is their version of
it's their AI. Branding for the AI that they're going to be incorporating into their different products.
Yeah, and I like the name Copilot. Like, it's there to help you, right? It's not running you. It's a tool that you can use to do things.
Right.
And I think Copilot it falls under the Dynamics 365 family, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong though. I think it's Dynamics 365 Copilot.
There are, but I think there's Copilot products for other things too. Like there's
for everything.
GitHub Copilot for developer tools. So there's Copilot's kind of their AI brand for their business products.
Yeah.
And it's different. So they went out of their way to make sure that people understand, I think, that there's ChatGPT, but then there's what they call Azure OpenAI. And so Copilot is it's not the same Chat GPT that you go into and say, write me a poem written by Coolio about,
Coolio.
about
weeds growing in the grass or something. Yeah.
Basketball player.
Yeah. Coolio.
So this
has boundaries.
Right. It's a more controlled environment. It's got
so it's only pulling data from the data sources that Microsoft specifies. Basically.
Correct. It's
not taking it from
kind of like a targeted chatbot
yeah.
at one particular area. And they also made a big deal about the privacy of the data, right? Because there's this concern. Okay, I'm running Business Central, and you're going to be incorporating AI into Business Central. Well, is that data therefore being shared with the universe?
What is AI pulling from Business Central? Yeah.
Right, and there's this global, chatbot that's learning everything about my business, and that's going to be available for other businesses. And they made it very clear that a company's data is going to remain within their environment. It's not shared. It doesn't become part of some global database of information.
And so AI decides that
it wants to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
But a whole other discussion.
Yep. So and like you said, that the idea is it's a co-pilot for the users. It's to help the users be more efficient and more effective. Yeah. Right? Like if you think about it, like a true auto co-pilot, right? Like if on an airplane, right? Yeah. You have pilots sitting in the cockpit. They're capable of flying the planes, but they can also set it on autopilot. Mm-hmm. And that will use data to make sure the plane stays flying on course.
I mean, even if they have an actual co-pilot flying with them, the main pilot is saying, all right, check this, do that. The main pilot is still in control, right? The co-pilot is just kind of assisting him do his or her, whatever it is they have to do. So I'll tell you what, though, I was shocked. So Microsoft they introduced Copilot. And in my opinion, I know there's a race right now for AI, and everybody's got to get all their AI stuff out there to be the best. I was shocked as to how little Copilot actually did within Business Central right now.
Right.
You understand what it's basically limited to creating descriptions on items and I don't know, maybe something else. I can't even remember off the top of my head. But it's very limited in Business Central. And I think they just put it out there to say, we're the first, we got it out there, and I expect it over time to evolve heavily to do a lot more. So it'll be interesting, but I think they might have rushed it a little bit.
Yeah, basically the only incorporation of Copilot into Business Central is, you can auto-generate a long description of your item using fields and attributes associated with the item record.
Right. And then if you change them up, it'll recreate your description or whatnot.
The first thing is that I would tell you that the vast majority of Business Central user organizations don't extensively use attributes.
Gotcha.
They're used out there. But it's not you don't see every
priority.
Customer setting up tons of attributes, color, size, dimensions, specifications, all that type of stuff.
Well, I think they did that, and they chose to do it in this because, right, the ability to create less errors is pretty low in this, right? It's something that they can't really mess up AI creating description. Yes, it could say something wrong about your product when it analyzes the picture and the attributes, but it's not really messing anything up yet. So it kind of tells me that in the background, they're still working heavily on AI. They're still working on the integration to make it as good as they can get it, but in time, we'll see.
But I think, but I would note though that even though specifically within Business Central, Copilot doesn't have much right now, right?
Right.
They said it will be a significant feature going forward, and also if you're running Business Central online, you may also be running Office 365.
Yeah.
And if you look at the new Copilot features that are in Office 365. to me, those are more compelling.
Right now, yeah.
Some of those things that they've added in there. And again, I think it's just like you said. It's let's get something in there to say that we have something in there. And it's just a start.
Yeah, it's like the space race of the 60s and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wasn't around in the 60s like you.
Yeah. Luckily, hair's only gray now. All right, so let me ask you a question. Do you envision a time where you could say to Business Central and Copilot, hey, perform year-end closing tasks for me? You think it'll ever get to that point?
Possibly.
Yeah. I asked Ken because Ken's obviously very skilled with financials.
Although you might have to use the right terms, and it would kind of maybe help. Like, you're again, I view it like in terms of like you said, a co-pilot. Like, maybe me, instead of me having to click here, click there, open this page, I like you said, say that, and it just launches the page. So, but I'm still kind of have like, okay, I can review this and then click OK. Mm-hmm. But yeah, something like that, especially, and I think that's a great example of where I think it can be useful. The reason I say that is because it's a once a year process.
So
no one remembers how to do it.
It's okay.
No. No, I mean, no one remembers how to do it because you only do it once a year, right? The things like repetition, obviously, there's use for it there, but also in those things that you don't do very often. That like I don't remember what was the steps. Which boxes do I check here? Yeah. I think there's who knows? I mean, what you could do with it. I think we're at this precipice, right, of a crevasse.
Crevasse.
Where we need to tread carefully, or else you might fall in. I don't know.
Yeah, according to Elon Musk, right? Pull the brakes now.
All right.
And some other pretty prominent figures in the world, they signed that petition saying we need to hold off on AI. Which is interesting because if I'm not mistaken, I think Elon Musk was one of the first investors in the OpenAI.
He was. I know that he helped create it.
Right. So if
it was a nonprofit organization, mm-hmm. which was created to ensure that there was kind of a group of people who could collaborate and work together on this and make sure that it was being done in the right way.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what happened. I have no idea, but I do know that today OpenAI is a for-profit company.
Yeah.
So that's really weird, right? Like how can you start something as a non-for-profit, generate all this traction and energy, and then go, okay, changed our mind. This is really valuable. We're now a for-profit company.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're sitting there and you're going to say, well, our market cap, whatever, we might be one of these $1 trillion companies. Yeah, this non-for-profit thing's not going to be for us anymore.
Yeah, but that's not right.
But it's interesting. And then you had the CEO of Google who said, with concerning that, he said this, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that this is going to be bigger, or it's as big as like man creating fire or something like that, which is pretty big. When you come to think about it,
it's pretty significant. I watched on about 3 weeks ago, on 60 Minutes on CBS. I don't know if this is available on streaming or whatever these days.
Everything probably is.
You probably could find it, but 60 Minutes did a long form interview with the CEO of Google, and they showed some other Google robotics and stuff that they're working on. But I would say if this is interesting to you, watch that interview, and I kind of picked up a couple things on some answers where the interview was asking him some pretty direct yes/no questions, and he seemed to be evading the answer to the questions, which leads me to believe and he said, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. And the interviewer said, wait, what? You don't know what could happen? Like, it's almost unbelievable, isn't it? Right? Like,
he knows what'll happen if he says the wrong thing.
And he didn't directly address that question.
Yeah.
So
here's actually the quote from the Google CEO. I don't know how to say his name. Is it Pichai? I don't know. He says, AI is one of the most important things humanity is working on. It is more profound than, I don't know, electricity or fire. That's big time. I mean, electricity, fire. I mean, that's. But we'll see. I personally think, and I know Ken disagrees, but I think it's going to be involved in every aspect of like our life, every industry. I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, no, there definitely could be major implications.
Absolutely.
When Elon Musk says it could lead to the destruction of civilization, it kind of doesn't give you the warm fuzzies. What was the last invention? Well, I think you probably
TikTok.
That when it came out, you said this is going to lead to the destruction of civilization.
Yeah, it's not
right.
too
I mean,
much.
maybe
Nuclear warheads,
the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Right. I guess that.
Yeah.
And then this. I mean, jokingly, TikTok. Yeah, that's a slow burn. But yeah, no. I mean, I my point is that I think in most cases when new technology arises, right?
People are always weary though.
It's well, and I guess you could say the internet, right? There's the vast majority. I mean, the internet has definitely overall positively impacted people's lives.
Yeah.
But
Unless
there are negatives with the internet, right?
Well,
there's a downside. There's a dark side
stuff, for sure,
right, of the internet.
Yeah.
And what's scary though is that like I think I've seen a couple people who are saying, some people are saying we'll slow down on it. Well, other people aren't going to slow down on it. I mean, you could slow down on your AI research and development, but other people aren't going to. And also, some people aren't going to accept any controls on what they do with it, right?
Not when it's profitable,
right? Or
money's the driver.
Yeah. So I think there's I don't know, like you said, the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah. But to spin it in a positive way, I know that you came across some things that Copilot, Microsoft's AI, can do with GitHub, with code and whatnot, and this is using AI as a tool, which would make life a little bit easier for developers because.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we saw some demos. Microsoft's within Visual Studio Code. So Business Central, right? If you're building an extension, you're working in Visual Studio Code. And usually the developer goes in there and they start writing their code. And what we saw was a demo of the GitHub Copilot, where as the developer's typing in code, after they type in a little bit, all of a sudden the code just fills in below where they're typing.
Amazing.
In kind of like a lighter colored font to show that this is all kind of suggested code. It's Copilot analyzing what the developer is inputting and attempting to complete the rest of the code.
It's kind of like a Google search or something, right? Where you're searching and it pops up the rest.
Correct. Right. Nice. It kind of takes a guess at what you're searching for. This is taking a guess at what you're trying to accomplish in your code. And Microsoft studies have showed that it can make about 50% write the 50% of the code and make a developer 50% more effective. So
it's huge right now.
They're not at 100. It's not 100%. Yeah. You still need a developer.
Right.
But it
was just introduced.
If you can do everything 50% more efficiently, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, again,
it's a whole other language.
People want to do, today less and less extensions, less and less customization. I want to use it out of the box, right? I don't want to run anything that's proprietary and specific to us. We want to be just running the general system. So, but if you do have to do custom code, and it can be done in maybe half the time,
it's great.
Or even better, using best practices, better, right? Using good syntax and code, right? Instead of each developer writing their code how they do it, it can be done in a more standardized way.
Yeah.
That also has benefits on it.
So. I think it's going to be huge for developers. I mean, just to cut down on some of the time, some of the mistakes. But I think it goes back to working how you kind of said, right? The better that you outline and give Copilot directions and commands or whatnot, the better it'll be for you.
Right.
But I think, when you put something in and you get an error, maybe even for troubleshooting, I don't know, maybe I haven't seen how it works, but maybe you can input a certain code into GitHub and say, what's wrong with this? Can you troubleshoot this? I'm getting this error message. I don't know how it works, but that might be beneficial in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're at the very beginning. Like I said, we're at the very start of this, and we'll have to see where it goes. I think that there's going to be a ton of opportunities out there, a ton of new apps that come out, and things that people can use. But I think those people that are going to be developing a lot of that stuff are going to be charging for it.
Yeah.
And the question's going to be, do people feel the need to pay extra or pay that amount for that? Is it, are they going to get the value? Now, if you said, hey, it's Microsoft, they're just building this in and they're going to include these features and this functionality with Business Central, so you're getting more and more value every month out of your user subscription, that's one thing, right? But if you're saying, well, hey, I built this whole AI tool over here, this is really cool, and I'm going to charge you X dollars per month to use this, what's my price point? Is that going to have a return on investment for you?
Got to go back to the old micro and macroeconomics, right? What's the cost-benefit analysis, right? Do the chart. And then go from there. I think right now, right, is it going to be worth it? A lot of these apps can be worth it for you. Most likely not, right? But once the costs are coming down and things like that, people are going to adopt it. Like I said earlier when we were talking, as soon as somebody can show I saved 5% doing this or whatever, then other people jump on the bandwagon and then it takes off.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had a nice little discussion here.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you two things. I can guarantee you two things. One, we're going to have more AI news next month. Some new stuff is going to happen. And two, we're going to be having a new snack.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully nothing that has fish in it. Sardines. All right, next up, we're going to be doing a feature segment on Data Administration Guide. So it's a newer feature in Business Central, and Ken's already an expert on it.
Let's go.
Back for the featured segment app, and today we're going to be talking about a feature that's been around for a little bit, but is not most commonly known, and that is data administration in Business Central. And I was surprised to learn of this feature today, but Ken, Mr. Business Central, as I like to refer to him, knows a little bit about it. I'm going to pass this on over to Ken. Ken's going to tell us what this is and what does it do. So Ken, what is it and what does it do?
Yeah, so this is, to me, it's like I think of this, it's like almost like a secret new page that got created at some point down our journey from NAV to Business Central.
All right.
So you're running Business Central, right? You've got all of these different types of entries. You've got ledger entries out there. You've got registers. Every time you post something, it creates a register. You've got log entries, different types of log entries out there. Your database grows over time as you add more data to it, right? Well, there's a capacity, right, for data that you get. You get 80 gig plus like 2 gig per user, I think. Mm-hmm. And so far, from what we've seen, everyone has, because of the compression that they're doing in the SQL databases and excluding the attachments and things, no one's having any issues with with living within the allocated capacity.
Right.
But we know that over time, companies will start to perhaps see some issues where they're kind of pushing up against their capacity limits. And of course, if they do, they can easily just add extra capacity for a monthly fee.
Yep.
And there you go, just continue growing your database as large as you need it to get. You just keep paying more. But some people might be like, well, I've been running this for 15 years now, right? Or I have 15 years of data that I migrated in from my old system. And I don't really need it all. So what do I do? Where do I go? What utilities exist to allow me to optimize or clean up my database, if you will? Well, that would be the data administration page. So if you go in, you're a super user, you can go in, just do your search or tell me, data administration, opens this page. This page shows you every table in your database, the number of records in the table, the size of the data, or like how much space is that taking up, as well as the growth percentage. So you can kind of see which tables, and you can sort by any of these columns and see which tables are growing the fastest, which tables take up the most space in the database, and so on. It also shows you if you have multiple companies in your environment, how much data each company is taking up, right? So that's it's kind of like a great overview. Here's where my capacity utilization is coming from. Now, there is a kind of a more crude way to do this in the Business Central Admin Center. You can just go into like list of tables and see it from there. But this is more user-based. So you're right in Business Central doing this. So that's just the start, though. So now I've got all this information here. Now what I can do is I can go into Actions. Under the Actions dropdown, I've got two different types of actions. I've got what I'll call cleanup and then compression. Cleanup is kind of removing records that you don't need anymore. So like examples of data cleanup would be deleting change log entries, right? So we're tracking any changes to certain fields on certain tables. But after, I don't need any of these that are over 3 years old.
So you can specify like a date
when you go to delete them. Yeah, you can
just
say
doesn't delete all
anything with a date of less than today minus 3 years. Go delete all these. You also can delete things like expired sales quotes, sales quote versions, sales order versions, purchase order versions. You can delete things like invoiced sales orders, invoiced purchase orders. You can delete it within the CRM, Business Central marketing area, opportunities, logged segments, campaign segments, ledgers, registers, right? Now, when it comes to ledger entries, you can compress those. So you don't want to delete your GL entries or your item ledger entries. But let's stick with GL entries for a minute. You may have 10 million posted GL entries because you loaded in your full GL history.
Okay.
But you really don't need to see that granular level of data for anything over 5 years or 7 years, whatever it is. You can compress your entries. So that would be GL entries, tax entries, budget entries, customer ledgers, vendor ledgers, item ledgers. Item budget entries. I don't know if I see item ledgers. No item ledgers. So I take that back. Item ledgers is not there, but most of the other ledger entries. And what it does is instead of deleting them, let's say you have 100,000 GL entries for the month of January. You can compress those down into like a single entry per account plus dimension per day.
Okay.
So instead of having 10,000 entries to your accounts receivable account, because every single invoice hits accounts receivable, you can compress those down to a single net change amount per day. So you might be able to take those 10,000 entries to AR and compress those down to 50 entries
And it's reducing the amount of space it takes up within Business
Correct.
Central?
Yep. Yeah. It literally deletes the original entries and creates a new summarized entry per day.
So it's basically creating a compressed folder in the background.
A compressed entry. So like for example, if you look in your GL entries table, again, let's say you had 10,000 entries that hit AR for the month of January. You might now only see 30 if you have one entry per day.
Gotcha.
And it just, so you still, the benefit is you still can run your financial statements. You still can run reports, but you're not going to be able to drill down into the individual transactions. But
can you uncompress them?
No.
Okay.
So once it's compressed, it's compressed. But the theory is like, okay, after 7 years,
you're compressing stuff that you're not going to need.
You don't really need to going back in and looking at that level of detail.
Right.
So, and then lastly, there's what's called data retention policy. So in the data retention policy, let's take the change log entries, for example. You might define a retention policy that says, I only want to maintain 1 year of change log entries. And then you can automatically set the retention policy to run, and it just regularly makes sure that you only have 1 year of those entries available. So it's monitoring for you and continuously.
So you just set it and forget about it, basically.
Maintaining. Yep, there you go.
That's nice. Yeah. That's real nice.
So this is I bring this up because it's kind of like a lot of people are like, well, wait, if you've used Nav before, you used to be able to go to the menu and you could find all these different data compression and data deletion utilities right off the menu.
Yeah.
They're not off the menu in Business Central. You can't find them. They're all held within this data administration tool.
Really?
So it makes it much easier to manage security, like who has the ability to do this, right? Yeah. And then the last thing, and this is again where I think Microsoft's taken this to the next level. In the original days, we would have had this whole page with all these cool functions and utilities, and we would have just had to go click on these things and figure it out. Now there's a button on the ribbon called the Data Administration Guide. It's a wizard that walks you through the steps. So for example, you click on it and it says, welcome to the Data Administration Guide. This will help you clean up various types of data in your company. You can run this guide again for each company, and it explains why it's beneficial. You click next. You can set your retention policies and enable those. It gives you an opportunity to review your companies, and maybe you just want to delete a whole company that you don't need anymore, because that could take up a significant amount of space.
Would you say it's very user-friendly then?
I would say it's very user-friendly.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, very. Yep. And it tells you, okay, here's data compression. Click here to learn more about data compression. And then you can go to the next, and you can pick which tables do you want to compress. It's like little toggles you can pick. Hit next. You can pick a starting date and an ending date. How do you want to compress them? Per month, per week, per day, right? So you've got a lot of variables that you can pick as you go through this wizard. Do you want to retain your dimensions? Do you want to delete any empty registers that might be sitting out there? And then you can kind of run it.
So what's the rule of thumb? I know you have an accounting background. Is it never delete? You always hear the 7 years, right? Keep everything for 7 years.
For audit purposes.
Is that kind of the rule of thumb?
Yeah, that's the longest. Typically the longest, at least in the United States, from an IRS audit perspective, or a statute of limitations. 7 years is typically the longest. Some things are maybe 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. 7 is usually the longest that you have to keep that level of detailed records. And after that, you can you could shred that box of files.
So you really don't want to compress anything that's over 7 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. So
pretty cool.
So this is something that I kind of think it's like
it's like a hidden feature, right?
Jokingly call it like my secret page, because it's. I mean, this has been out here for a while, since version 18. We're now on 21 moving to 22 soon here.
So a few years.
So it's been out 2 years. This has been out there, but I don't remember much fanfare around this. Right?
I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember it being listed as a feature.
As a new feature.
Yeah.
It was 18.2 that it.
So
that
it was a rollout update.
It was a
minor
monthly update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty big inclusion for minor.
So I think it's pretty powerful, pretty insightful to see what's going on, even if you don't use it for deletion, just to see which tables have the most records, are the largest, and what's your growth rate across different tables, so you can kind of extrapolate out how your database growth is projecting. How I have been doing this personally is I would go into an environment and I would do a kind of a screen capture of in the admin center, and I would look at the used space, and then I would go in a month later and do the same thing, and just look at the difference and say, oh, the great database is growing about 0.5 gig a month.
Right.
So you can
you have some sort of, you can gauge some when you might need more memory or whatnot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. I like that feature a lot. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we covered a lot today. But before we move on or whatnot, I'm looking forward to this. We got to rate the beer.
You got to rate the beer.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give this a higher rating than you. I can honestly say Ken has drank maybe a fifth of this beer.
No, a third.
Did it fill to the top when it was being poured?
Oh yeah, over.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, granted, it's a strong beer, but I don't know if I've ever seen Ken at least get one down, maybe.
That's right.
So
I got the Groove Grove down. The banana beer?
Yeah, I remember the banana beer, yeah. Stacy was on as the guest.
I even finished the 1050 barrel-aged beer. Remember
Did you drink the cherry one, though? That one time?
I don't know if I had. I might have had a different. It was a sample pack.
Yeah. Cherry was pretty bad.
Leinenkugels.
Yeah.
I think I tried one of the other ones, an orange or something.
Do you want to go first and rate it, or you want me to go?
Yeah. I'm going to go 20.
Oh, my God. Is that the lowest?
But yeah, 34.
34 was the lowest?
It was my lowest, which was the Groove Grove. Yeah.
Is it just because of the high alcohol content that hits you, or is it just overall taste?
Overall taste, the overpowering flavors and alcohol. It's not sitting in my stomach very well.
Wow, man, I did a terrible job this time. Or some might say I did a good job.
Some might speculate that you're smiling for a reason.
I'm gonna go with. This is pure. I've learned a lot about myself. I tend to like these stronger beers. I'm gonna go 76. Ooh. Solid 76. I like it. I can have 1, 2. It's you got to be in the mood. I like the coffee notes, right? I'm a huge coffee guy, so I like the coffee notes. Kind of chocolate. The smell. I love the smell. One of the better smelling beers, in my opinion, that we've had on this show. But
this is hysterical.
It's a strong beer.
So
why? It's rated the same as what?
So 76 is right between Budweiser and Groove Grove for you.
Yeah. Yeah, Budweiser. Yeah, I like it, but it's not like
those are just such different beers. But
completely
you have
different
all
beers,
three,
but they're all right around the same.
76, 75, 74, or whatever.
Well, yeah, right? So I feel about the same with all of them, right? I don't particularly, I like them, right? But I'm not going to go out of my way to get them. Now, if you put Budweiser, Groove Grove, and this in front of me to drink, I think I might go with Groove Grove.
Your ratings would say Budweiser would be first out of the three.
Yeah, okay, well, I haven't had Groove Grove in a while. I can remember the taste of Budweiser, but Groove Grove had it one time, however. But yeah, and also, it depends, like I always say, it depends on when you're drinking it. Budweiser, summertime. To me, this is a winter beer, right? A fall winter beer. Yeah. It's very thick, heavy.
Yeah,
coffee. It's not a more, maybe.
We have a little mini fridge in here where we keep a lot of the beers that we've had, and occasionally, hey, it's after 5 o'clock, hey, grab a beer, out of the fridge. I'm going to invite you to take the rest of these home.
I was going to say, is it going to stick around for a while? Yeah. We don't want beer to go bad.
Unless maybe we'll give some other people here an opportunity to see if I'm crazy.
People like beer.
Maybe I'm crazy.
I think you're more of a beer purist, right? you probably, I don't want to say grew up on, but you probably got introduced to domestic beers, lighter beers.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't know if that matters. I mean, I know a lot of other people though that love this. That this is the stronger, right? The better. Dark Lord Day at Three Floyds, right? Like people show up and pay $20 for one beer.
Yeah.
And it's 14% and even stronger, right?
Yeah, but I'm like you though. When I think of beer, do I think of this as being beer? No, this isn't what I conjure up in my head as beer. I think of Budweiser, Coors Light, like more domestic, lighter flavored beers, Corona, you know what I mean, Modelo.
Yeah.
This is, to me, this is really a craft beer, right? 100%. It's got the biscotti flavor to it and whatnot. It's a little bit different. I don't know. It's strong.
Poop craft.
This is the worst beer. I can't believe it. The lowest rated. Even more than the pastrami one we had, right? When we have, what was that sandwich one we had?
Oh, give me two of those.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. Yeah.
Those are delicious. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain.
No, I know you're not.
I got to try Guinness, though. I've never had Guinness.
Come on, really?
Yeah, maybe I'll bring it in one time.
Okay, we're going to have to, you know what?
I've never had Guinness.
History with Guinness. I have a feeling maybe we might be drinking Guinness next month.
Yeah. Do you like Guinness?
Oh, yeah. I just had one the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't see Guinness being in your wheelhouse.
Oh no, it's actually, I don't want to. We're gonna have one. You've never had one?
No. Can you see through Guinness?
It's almost it's a little bit lighter than this. This is black. This is as black black beer gets.
This definitely looks like oil.
Yeah, it's a little bit as if it seems possibly. I mean, it's lighter, but yeah, we won't. I won't talk too much about Guinness because we can
next month
together. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right, on that note, we're done. Everybody, like the podcast, share the podcast. We truly appreciate it, and we're going to see you next month. So, Ken?
Bye.
As we end today's podcast, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who listens, shares this podcast, and leaves us reviews. You've taken a good amount of your time out of your day, and we truly appreciate it. Thanks again, and don't be afraid to email us at marketing@solsyst.com with your tips for the podcast, or maybe you'd even like to be a guest during an episode.